Tonight, a Central Coast man charged over the death of a woman following a procedure at a tattoo parlour. A man under police guard after a body is found in a Sydney apartment. Dozens of women join a class action over a birth control device. And Tiger Woods turns back the clock, but Brooks Koepka wins the PGA Championship.
This is NBN News with Paul Lobb.
Good evening. A tattoo artist from the Central Coast has been charged with manslaughter, the first charge of its kind in the world. A young mother died from blood poisoning 3 weeks after he allegedly performed a body modification procedure on her. Tim Davies reports.
Well, Brendan Russell was picked up by detectives outside his Terrigal home just after lunch this afternoon and brought here to Gosford Police Station, where he was charged with the manslaughter of Samantha Strickland. The 30-year-old's body was discovered by her 7-year-old daughter in April last year inside their Tawoon Bay home on the Central Coast, with a post-mortem later determining that she died as a result of septicemia. But police today allege that that infection was actually sparked as a result of a botched body modification procedure that was carried out 3 weeks earlier, a procedure very similar to this picture. Now, Brendan Russell is accused of inserting a plastic snowflake under the skin of Miss Strickland's right hand inside his Erina tattoo parlour. This afternoon, the 37-year-old was also hit with a charge of grievous bodily harm after allegedly performing a tummy tuck on another customer. Now, this is not the first time that we have heard of Brendan Russell. Back in May, he was charged with mutilating the genitals of a 33-year-old woman in Newcastle back in 2016. He has this afternoon been refused bail and will appear in Gosford Court first thing tomorrow morning.
Tim Davies reporting there in Gosford. A woman has denied murdering her former partner, claiming she lured him to a Sydney home to get a confession out of him. The bizarre case in the Supreme Court today heard allegations Raquel Hutchison tortured her victim before dumping his body on the Central Coast.
She was an adult entertainer, but today Raquel Hutchison swapped the swimsuit for a blazer and glasses as she faced trial accused of murder, alongside her then-boyfriend Paul Wilkinson. The couple accused of luring her ex-partner to his death in a St Mary's unit in 2014. Crown Prosecutor Margaret Caneen SC said a 9-year-old boy saw the bashing and heard Hutchison yell, "Confess, confess, confess, or I'll kill you." He told police he saw blood dripping off the man after a stop at another home in Minto. They then drove to Wiseman's Ferry, where the body was allegedly dumped. But Hutchison's barrister Belinda Rigassi said there was no intention to kill. She went there to collect evidence to have him charged with abusing children. The court heard the victim was an exorcist and ghost hunter in his spare time, and his ex-partner knew that. She had also sat through an inquest into his first wife's death, in which he was labelled a suspect, although never charged. But she didn't go to the police about the threat she believed he posed because she was mentally impaired and didn't trust officers. Both have pleaded not guilty to murder. Daniel Greentree has denied he helped them afterwards.
Sparks flew at the Banking Royal Commission today as one of the NAB's most senior executives denied accusations the bank hadn't been transparent with Australia's corporate regulator. Andrew Hagger was forced to face claims the NAB delayed revealing the amount of compensation it needed to pay customers, so it didn't look bad.
The NAB's Chief Customer Officer, Andrew Hagger, was hauled back before the Royal Commission to answer claims he deliberately withheld information from corporate cop ASIC to avoid poor publicity.
It seems very simple, Mr. Hagger. You made a decision that you were not going to tell ASIC about the amount of compensation.
No, that's not true, Mr. Hutchins. Well, if that's your simple question, no,
I deny that.
I deny that.
Hagger, previously responsible for the NAB-owned MLC, had encouraged people to trust the organisation with their money.
Find a financial advisor that you're comfortable with, think about the kind of retirement that you want, and then actively take steps to work with that advisor. That's what we're all about here at MLC, which is part of NAB.
He was grilled in the Royal Commission about when he told ASIC the bank needed to pay out $34 million to affected customers, not the $16 million ASIC was about to report.
you regard the way that you dealt with ASIC as being open and transparent.
Yes, I do.
Hagger claims he opened the door for ASIC Commissioners Greg Tanzer or Peter Kell to ask about the extent of those claims.
Yeah, the ball was in their court, and I had opened it. I could not have opened the door any wider, Mr. Hodge.
So being open and transparent was accomplished by saying, ask us what you like, but we won't tell you what to ask.
Misleading ASIC carries heavy civil and criminal penalties, including up to 12 months jail for any officials that are involved. Today, the NAB denied any allegation that it misled ASIC, but already this Royal Commission has heard recommendations that the Commonwealth Bank and AMP should have charges against them. The Commission also heard NAB Chief Executive Andrew Thorburn discuss what the corporate regulator should be told about the matter. Last week, Thorburn apologised to customers following revelations in the Royal Commission.
Once again, we've been confronted in the Royal Commission where we've let you down, where we haven't met that standard. And I'm sorry for that.
Ross Greenwood, NBN News.
A Hunter mother charged with manslaughter over the death of her young daughter at Taro in June has been granted bail. The 22-year-old faced Newcastle local court this afternoon via video link, where Magistrate Robert Stone ruled there was not enough evidence to keep her in custody. She was set strict bail conditions, including an order to live with her paternal grandfather and to not speak to witnesses or her co-accused. The woman is due to face court again on October the 11th. Former Adelaide Catholic Archbishop Philip Wilson will learn tomorrow whether he'll spend time behind bars for covering up sex abuse in the Hunter. Reporter Jared Brevy has the latest.
Philip Wilson must spend at least 6 months in detention, and tomorrow a magistrate will decide if he'll do that in a jail cell or on home detention. In July, Wilson received a sentence of 12 months with a non-parole period of 6 months after being found guilty of concealing child sex abuse. Wilson was granted bail and the court ordered he be assessed for home detention at his sister's house on the Central Coast. Philip Wilson covered up the crimes of pedophile priest Jim Fletcher, who he worked with and at one stage lived with in the Maitland-Newcastle diocese in the 1970s. Fletcher was responsible for the horrid sexual abuse of a number of young altar boys during that time. His victims have been very vocal throughout this legal process. They have said they believe Wilson should spend time behind bars. On the other hand, Catholic Church officials have said Philip Wilson remains convinced he is innocent, and while he resigned from his role as the Archbishop of Adelaide 2 weeks ago, his legal team is preparing to appeal his conviction, and we do expect to hear more about that appeal here in court tomorrow.
Jared Brevy reporting there. A 23-year-old woman has been found guilty of robbing and assaulting Carolyn Holland, the wife of late Test cricketer Robert Duchy Holland. The incident took place at a Wobber Oval in 2016. Mrs. Holland and her family emerged from Newcastle District Court this afternoon, saying they're relieved justice has taken its course.
Justice for Duchy?
Yeah, certainly. Certainly was. More than anything, a day of justice for him.
Tiffany Pandell will be sentenced in Sydney on the 12th of October. An application for a fourth story to be added to a controversial development at Whitebridge will go back before Lake Macquarie Council tonight. It comes amid a 4-year community campaign over the $23 million Dudley Road development. A residents group has accused Fettlers Whitebridge of exploiting a loophole in state planning laws to get an extra story approved. The group will present its argument at tonight's council meeting. The University of Newcastle has received $1.5 million to help address PFAS contamination. It's part of a national research program to remediate soil and groundwater contaminated by domestic and defence uses of the chemicals, something that's been causing major heartache for residents near RAF base Williamtown. The university study will focus on immobilising, absorbing and then burning off contaminated biosolids at high temperatures. Even as more Australians get behind our farmers, those in drought-ravaged areas are battling to maintain a positive outlook. Many from the Upper Hunter gathered at Gundy near Scone this afternoon with a rugby clinic, the backdrop for discussion about the crisis. Sam Burberry reports.
Everywhere you look, you can see the dire situation facing our farmers. Like so many, though, the dairy family is doing everything it can to keep the cattle that remain on its property near Scone fed. Despite receiving hay donations, they say doing so is becoming increasingly difficult.
It changes every day, whether it's good or whether it's bad, it keeps changing every day, and you've got to keep making those decisions to keep moving forward.
Hoping to boost morale among the community, players from the Waratahs and Brumbies held a free skills clinic at Gundy this afternoon. Although a welcome distraction, what everyone here needs is rainfall.
Sam Burberry reporting there. Meanwhile, one hunter tradie has come up with a novel idea to help those on the land. Cameron Waters put a call out on social media for fellow skilled workers to donate their time, and they've responded by the dozen.
Thousands of dollars worth of hay, feed for stock, and the thing drought-affected farmers need most, water. 28,000 litres of it. Just some of the generous donations Cameron Waters and his mates will drop off when they make a 400-kilometre trip to Coonabarabran this Sunday.
It's almost third world out there. These people are proud and they're strong people, and you know, they're not out for any sort of charity, but you know, we're just going to have to go out and, you know, give our fellow Aussies a hand, eh?
They're donating both goods and services. Cameron is a mechanic by trade.
We've got about 10 to 12 mechanical tradesmen coming. They've taken leave from work for free. Most of them run their own businesses.
No small sacrifice, but he says it's one that needs to be made. With farmers being forced to choose between feeding livestock and farm expenses, the last thing they need is for machinery to break down.